What's going on, YouTube? What's going on, Eagles fans? This your boy TK the Official, and welcome back to another episode of TK Sports Talk, where we talk about the NFL, but more importantly, we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, man. Practice is back underway. As you know, the Philadelphia Eagles are getting ready for the regular season as we start out Week 1 against the New England Patriots, man. It's going to be a pretty big game, even though the Patriots don't look to be that great of a team this year. They got a tough fight to climb in their own division in the AFC East there, but it's going to be Tom Brady night. Okay, so we know Tom Brady is going to be inducted into the New England Ring of Honor. It's going to be a big celebration, but I don't think it's going to do a whole lot to give New England enough muster to try to come out with the upset at that particular game. So the boys are back at practice. Now, this is the final practice until the Eagles make their final cut downs. All right, we're going to get into the cut downs today. The Eagles have already cut a list of players. We'll get into some notable cut players from that list. We'll talk about a little bit about how they get into the practice squad, who might make it to come back, who could we stash, okay? But the biggest news of the day is not actually who the Eagles cut, but it's more so who the Eagles picked up. All right, we'll get into that as well. Okay, let's just start talking about right away. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, we came off a game last time we talked. All right, we went against the Indianapolis Colts, and I was very impressed to see some really good things from quarterbacks Eli Ricks and some of the other rookies that were out there trying to battle for some spots. Some of those guys out there on the bubble. All right, potentially could be practice squad, potentially could be cut and trying to get into the league again next year and have to play in some other leagues or do some other things in the meantime, in between time. All right, and it's real good to see that the Eagles have had so much depth and so much talent that they've had to cut players, and it's going to be hard to keep those players on a roster, because when you have a team that's as talented as the Philadelphia Eagles, if you can't make the Eagles, you know, teams want to look at those players who are talented but just couldn't make the Eagles. Just because you couldn't make the Eagles doesn't mean that you're not talented. The Eagles have a highly talented team. All right, I don't mean to confuse anybody. All right, let's take a look at some of the notable cuts here. All right, with Tyree Cleveland. All right, unfortunate with him, he got an injury. All right, I think we all can pretty much surmise that if Tyree Cleveland did not get the injury, he was having a really good camp. All right, and the Eagles are pretty thin at that fifth wide receiver spot. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. There's been years in the past where the Eagles have kept 6 wide receivers, and it's possible if Tyree Cleveland could have continued to have the preseason that he was having, rather. It's possible he could have found his way on his team. All right, might have been a little difficult to stash him on a practice squad because my man was out there just making plays. Okay, tight end Dan Arnold. When Dan Arnold came over from the Cardinals, man, he's a pretty good catching tight end, and I almost thought that he might would have had a spot on this team. I wasn't sure what we were gonna get from Grant Calcaterra, and he was a late draft pick. So you know, it's a flyer. You know, when you're on a team like this is a win now team. So, you know, I wasn't quite sure how that was going to play out, but Dan Arnold just didn't show much in the preseason, and I think that the Eagles have enough young talent, especially with Tyree Jackson. It's going to be interesting to see if Tyree Jackson will actually make the final cuts coming up tomorrow when we see. It's going to be hard to stash a guy like that on a practice squad. I mean, the Eagles know better than I completely trust the scouting team, and they seem to have a pulse on things. So, be interested to see. But I think with Tyree Jackson, with Jack Stahl, with Dallas Goedert, and with Grant Calcaterra, there was no room for Dan Arnold to be here. Okay, Deion Kane. All right, my man had a nice preseason last season, then went on to the USFL, was the MVP in their championship game, and then I thought he had a decent preseason here this year. I just don't think that there's enough opportunities, and when you have Devontae and AJ, and you have Olamide, all the A's, and then Quez. All right, so you got those top 4 wide receivers, and we're entrenched there. All right, and then we're just trying to find that 5th guy. Will it be Covet? Covey. I don't mean to say COVID, but will it be Covey? Will it be Devin Allen? Give my man a chance. I think we need something explosive out of special teams. We know how important special teams is, and I don't think that we flipped the field enough last year. I think give my man a chance to get out there and return some punts and return some kicks. Covey having a roster spot, he doesn't bring enough explosion, enough excitement to the return game. And we need some of that this year. There's going to be a lot of challenges coming into this year. We're going to try to repeat. We got to find areas of our team that we can improve in, and certainly special teams is one of them. All right. Offensive tackle Fred Johnson, you'll see there on the list of players that was cut. All right, now we do know that the Eagles brought him back. I'm not sure when this list was updated, but we do know that the Eagles brought him back and signed him to a 2-year deal. All right, pretty good tackle. I believe he played a little bit of guard, but mostly suitable at tackle. All right, and outside of Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, we have Tyler Steen, who's going to play tackle guard. So if let's say worst case scenario, if Tyler Steen had to come in and play guard for Landon Dickerson, or if he had to come in and play guard for Cam Jurgens or whomever, God forbid any one of those players get hurt. And then one of the tackles get hurt. Who do we trust? Who's reliable? Okay, didn't see what we like from Dennis Kelly, which you see him on that lift. Okay, not from Toth as well. All right, so we gotta have a reliable swing tackle. Andre Dillard is no reliable tackle. Rather, Andre Dillard is no longer here. Okay, and this is when you miss a guy like Andre Dillard. For those of you who was out there clowning my man. All right, and also I don't want to spend too much time on the cut list. Okay, but punter Ty Zettner is no longer on the team, and how, I don't want to say how bad do you have to be, because the guy's young, and I'm sure he has a chance to make another team and another camp at another year. But I mean, man, it's not really a tough competition to beat out Aaron Siposs, man. All right, now rumor has it from a couple of things that I've heard, man, I think Jake Elliott is comfortable with him. All right, and that's a powerful card to play, all right, because we need Jake Elliott, all right, and we need him to keep kicking field goals as successfully as he's been kicking them. And the kicking game is a weird thing, man. People have habits and people have little quirks, and sometimes it comes down to just the holder. And Siposs has been a holder. Jake Elliott is booming kicks, as we've seen so far this preseason, and hey, we want to keep that trend going, man. So we have to settle with the 35 to 45-yard punts. Hopefully we start angling some punts and start kicking them out of bounds. All right, that's where I like to go with this. Okay. All right. Now enough about the cuts today. Let's talk about what the Eagles did. And before I get into it, let me just get into it first. Okay. The Philadelphia Eagles went out and signed former Indianapolis Colts cornerback Isaiah Rodgers. Okay, now some of you might remember Isaiah Rodgers if you guys are out there real football fans and you know some of these cornerbacks in the games out here. Isaiah Rodgers was one of the premier young cornerbacks in this game. Plays in Indianapolis, so you don't get a lot of pub, all right? But this guy has good speed, great awareness, okay, and is a playmaking football player. Not only is he a cornerback, but he also exemplifies some talented skill in the return game as well. This guy, unfortunately, was suspended, okay, because he violated the NFL's gambling rules, all right? Now, the gambling rules are a little bit tricky, okay? Doesn't mean that he bet on his own game. They have a lot of specific rules about things. You can't even have other people bet for you or whatever the case is. Or, you can't bet on any. I'm not going to get into all the rules. Now, maybe I'll post it up or put a link in the description if you guys want to see what the NFL gambling rules are. You can look at them yourself. But for whatever reason, he violated those rules and he was suspended for an entire year. And the Colts, well, they flat out cut him, okay? And so because he's cut, all right, the Eagles say, all right, you know what? Shit, this is a talented player. We'll pick his ass up and we'll put him on the team. And guess what? He's going to go on the injured reserve suspended list. And then, we got him for a free year. And when he comes back off that list, he's going to be on the team. And we're going to be able to add him to a already stable, a young stable of not wide receiver, excuse me, a young stable of cornerbacks that we have. I mean, I am just impressed and enthused by the talent that we have here. So much so that we might even lose some of these guys because it's not enough spots on the roster. I'm not sure what the Eagles are going to do. If they're going to carry 5, if they're going to carry 6. Maybe they even push the cornerbacks to 7 and they try to go light somewhere else on the roster spot. Now with the rules now, there's so much that they can do, and Howie and the guys are so good at juggling the roster and who's up, who's down, putting guys on the roster spot, putting guys on this list, knowing they can bring them back at this time, and all kind of different things. All right, so I trust that they'll be able to do that with the roster. But just to have these amount of guys, all right, that when Bradbury and Slay, because let's just be honest, this might be both of their last years here. All right, the way that they have these deals structured, this might be both of the last years here, and the Eagles might be ready to move on real quickly. And if they are, we have a good young stable of cornerbacks that are here that look like they are hungry and ready to compete, and they're able to learn behind great guys like Bradbury and Slay. So again, like I wanted to start the segment by saying, kudos to Howie Roseman, okay, because these are the kind of gems that you find out there for a team that's hungry, for someone who's always scouring the wire, trying to figure out how we can get better, not just this year, not just right now, but looking forward down the line. This is something that Howie Roseman and his staff has been excellent at, and I think that this is something that we're going to look down the line and figure out that the Eagles got this guy for nothing here, okay? I don't know how the Eagles jumped to the top of the list. I guess the guy wasn't on any kind of waivers or whatever the case may be, okay? The Eagles is just playing chess and not checkers with everybody else, all right? Just to say it, okay? Get into it real quickly, man. Real hype about what's coming up this year. I want to say something real quick, man. A lot of buzz around Jalen Carter, man, and if you guys don't know Jalen Carter, he might just be the top candidate, the top prospect for Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. I mean, this guy's been absolutely amazing, and I've never seen so many players just infuse how great this guy is as a football player, and what kind of potential this guy has as a football player, and what we might see out of him and who they can compare him to. I mean, just player after player after player after player, notable player on this team, just gushing with praise for this young rookie, man. And I hope it all works out, man, because I think Jalen Carter is going to have a big year. I think all the Philadelphia, Georgia Bulldogs are going to have a great year. Okay, we're talking to Kobe Dean, we're talking Jalen Carter, we're talking Nolan Smith. All right, Keely Ringo, maybe not so much, okay, but let's throw in DeAndre Swift in there as well, okay, because I think he's going to have a great season as well, all right. And big man Jordan Davis is definitely going to have a great season. Much maligned player, okay. I think a lot of people wanted a lot out of him, but just expectations a little high, understanding that he was coming off of injuries. Okay, he was also going through, just trying to get himself in shape and trying to understand the position of playing the nose tackle and what kind of technique they needed him to play and how he was supposed to sacrifice. Okay, so I'm just really excited about this team overall in general. I love the management staff, and I love what the owner Jeffrey Lurie has allowed for Howie Roseman to be able to do. And man, it's almost here. It's almost here. The NFL football season is almost here. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to get ready and start practicing as they get down to the final cuts. And we'll see what the Philadelphia Eagles 2023 roster is looking like going into the season, man. It's your boy TK, the official. All right. Thank you for watching TK Sports Talk. All right. And once again, and as always, go Birds.